Okay, welcome back, guys. This is episode 2 of my Kerbal Space Program series. I think I'm titling it A Space Odyssey. I'm not entirely sure, as I have not released a video yet. But by the time you see this, I will have, and this will be number 2. So we're getting right into it. I decided to dive straight into a moon mission. I got this rocket out of our parts that we have thus far, which is not much, so the lander is pretty lacking, and we only have a couple science experiments that we can actually conduct on the moon. But here we are, just staging up into orbit with this beast of a tiny, stupid little rocket. I forget what I called it. I think it was the Moon X1 or something, Moon Explorer. Worked out pretty well. It could have gone a lot better, and future moon missions will be a lot better. Yeah, here we are, just getting into orbit. As you can see, we got plenty of delta V for this, and plenty of delta V for the moon. Bill Kerman is going to be our first Kerbal to walk on the moon if everything goes well. Hopefully. Here we are, just getting up. I think I'm going to go into a parking orbit at about 100,000 meters. So that should be a nice little spot to stay. I got the LV-909 engines on the lander stage. Here we are about to stage into the TMI stage, which is the transmuter injection. We're just going to work on getting into orbit first. Looks like I might stop around. Yeah, I'm going to stop at around 100. Oh. Went a little bit higher this time. That's right. I actually went directly to the moon on this trip. It all worked out that way. Save a little bit of time and energy in the process. Here we are, just setting up a maneuver node to get over there. I think I got a pretty good intersect on this this pass. Here we are. I got the KW Rocketry Vesta engine for the injection motor. This engine, I love it. It's very fuel efficient, and it's got decent amount of thrust. I'm actually using it on a couple different things. But here we go towards the moon. Look at that beautiful shot of it rising. And there we go. Yeah, I actually have to use some of the lander stage to inject, which is not ideal, but it's doable. So now we're going to get in here, and we're just going to make a little adjustment until we get to the moon. We're going to skip ahead to that here in a second. I love the atmosphere and cloud mod. Bleh. Pretty sweet. Makes everything looks pretty cool. Here we are, just getting a little bit better intercept with the moon. There we go, warping right on ahead into the moon's sphere of influence. Aha. Just gonna run some science, do a quick crew report and an EVA report. We're going to transmit those back to Kerbin. And we're going to get ready. I think I'm going to make one more little adjustment. Get our plane a little bit. Try to make some sort of, pick some sort of target. I was trying to go for some crater, but I ended up, I think I ended up just giving up and going back for wherever I could really land, to be honest. I just wanted to get a simple landing out of the way so we can get some easy science for the beginning of this series. I was thinking about doing kind of a delayed, realistic bunch of testing phases and stuff before we actually got to the moon, but I figured that's just kind of a waste of time. And if you're stuck in the bottom part of the tier tree, then you get stuck for a very long time, and it's just not too fun that way. So. Aha, that right there reminds me of a quote from one of the Apollo astronauts. I can't remember which astronaut it was, but We went there to explore the moon, and we discovered the Earth, in this case Kerbin. Basically talking about looking back towards their native planet. There we are running another science experiment. I'm going to set up our descent burn. I was aiming for the edge of the crater and the Midlands. I don't remember where I ended up. I think we'll end up over the Midlands. I'm not positive though, so here we are just warping ahead. We're gonna warp on up to the burn and hope beautiful Kerbin rise up on the horizon. Here we are getting into the right spot. We're gonna make this burn and hopefully land without a hitch. Bill Kerman does want to see another day. So here we go. We're back in real time now, so it's going to be a little bit slower, but I wanted to really keep the feel for this. Accelerate down a little bit, slow down some. I love the way the moon looks. Or mun. I've always kind of wondered about that debate, the moon-mun debate. I always just call the moon. It's way more easy to relate to. People know moon, like the moon of something, and plus I always just imagine the moon with a hard U, I guess is how you would say it. It would have the little line on top. But yeah, here we are descending down onto the lunar surface. Bill is a pretty experienced pilot. He looks pretty terrified right now though. Chill out, little dude. This is what your simulations and training was for. And here I am just killing my lateral velocity, trying to even things out, get this landing going as easy as possible. It's LV909 kind of sip fuel, and they have a decent amount of thrust for this. Plus they're pretty compact. That's pretty much why I picked these, because they're super compact. You don't have to have giant lander legs to go around them per se. We are killing our velocity. Just going to continue going down. The altitude meter is a little deceiving in these missions and when you're doing anything on the moon, because it's reading from a sea level, and there is no real sea level on the moon. So you could be landing at say 1500, or you could be landing at 2200 or something, but I like to watch for the shadow and the ground scatter, so that's the best way to do it in my opinion. And we're getting right on down to the surface at about 15 meters per second. Gonna kill that down to underneath 10 at least. I like to keep it under 10, maybe even under 6 or 5 at the very best. But sometimes you just can't help it. And there we go. We have touchdown. Oh, don't fall over. Okay, there we go. Alright, Bill, you did it. Congratulations. First Kerbal on the moon. We're going to run a crew report. 20 science for that bad boy. Pretty awesome. We're going to run the rest of our science experiments. The goo. Our mystery goo is the goo seems to be less dense here. Great. Materials bay. You leave the sample bays open on the moon and go do something else for a while. Yes, we will go do something else for a while. EVA report. So yes, that was EVA report from above Midlands EVA orbiting, so it didn't actually count towards that, I don't think. Yeah, it didn't count because I did not override that. I'm going to transmit both of these, just get rid of those out of the pod in case anything happens. Don't want to lose the science. Ugh, very graceful landing there, Bill. Surface sample. Darker Midland surface appears to be made up of basaltic rocks. Awesome. Yes, that explains the lunar maria. I guess in this situation it'd be the lunar maria, where impact craters have actually revealed inner lava at one point in the moon's life. mainly millions to billions of years ago, when the moon was still cooling, although it is still cooling. But we're just gonna plant a flag here. Midland's first landing. This is a landmark step for Kerbal Space Program, I think. For Kerbal Kind, there we go, yeah. Okie dokie. Alright, Bill, good work. Now it's time for Bill to extract the science data out of the experiments, save a little bit of space, and be able to get the full science data once we actually land on Kerbin again, if we can get back safely. He's having some trouble with his jetpack there, it seems. He's not the best pilot sometimes. Just gonna remove these data, get them all in there. Come on, Bill, let's get that last goo canister. Alright, and I think Bill is terrified out of his face, so he's just gonna head straight back to the pod and bored with all that delicious, delicious science. Now, it's time to plan on going back home. Pretty simple, pretty easy way. We're just gonna burn into orbit and then burn back home. Here I am just trying to determine which way I need to go. I think I found it. Indeed I did. Just gonna burn, burn, burn. Burn until we can get back into Kerbin. Wow. Yep, there we go. Ascending away from the landing site, the historical landmark landing. And here we are heading back towards Kerbin. The clouds look absolutely gorgeous. But now we're just gonna kill off the rest of our field real quick, a little bit of velocity, and then ditch our extra tanks, ditch the bottom section with the science and everything, and hopefully descend without a hitch. Seem to be over some sort of desert or grasslands. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So here we go, back into the atmosphere. I'm really glad I don't have deadly reentry installed, or we probably would have been dead. And the parachute deploys, and we go down for a splash landing. Perfect. Bill, you did it. You got back from the moon. Awesome. Plenty of science. So next, this is our new Minmus rocket. With our new unlocked science, we have unlocked some new parts, some new pieces for our program. Mainly on this one we have ladders and some more science experiments. I actually have a barometer and a thermometer on this. This rocket consists of 4 solid boosters and 5 liquid boosters on the first stage. 4 of them are Wildcats, one of them is the 2-engine Maverick. So now here we go. I like the way I put these fuel tanks into the side of the other fuel tanks. We got a Vesta for the transfer stage, and up top we have another LV909, which is plenty enough for Minmus. We have 1 science bay, material bay, and 2 goo canisters with plenty of Delta V, about 7,000 for the whole trip. Should be pretty awesome. I like the look of the lander, although it is a little tall for my taste. I'm not a big fan of tall landers, but I tried to make it as compact as I could with the materials bay and 1 Kerbal pod. It's kind of hard to do because they're pretty small scale. And we got plenty of life support. Oh yeah, life support waste container and a life support container. Scared me for a second. I was kind of afraid that my life support was empty. But yes, we got the Model B 1x6 solar panels on there. We got a nice little comms array and plenty of batteries. Yeah, that's our new Minmus mission rocket. Should be pretty good. Yeah, I actually meant to record the launch of this, but apparently I did not hit F9 to record. So this is the Minmus rocket on its transfer over to Minmus right now. We got plenty of fuel left for our capture and descent, but this is set for about 5 days in advance to actually encounter Minmus. So we got a few more things we need to do. So I actually went through and did a ton of contracts, and I was going to do a whole episode on contracts, but I figured that was pretty boring and people have been doing contract episodes everywhere, so I skipped the part testing ones and got a ton of money and a ton of science. So we got through the next 2, maybe even 3 tiers. I'm not positive how far we got between these 2 launches, but anyways, this launch, if you look in the Kerbal alarm clock window, we actually have 5 days until a Kerbin to Moho window, and I got a contract which was to test the nuclear LVN motor. I think that's what it's called, LVN. I got a contract to test that, so I took advantage of that and used that on this probe. Oh man, I'm like super burpy for some reason. But this is going to be our Moho science probe. We're going to get this into orbit real quick, and I want you guys to particularly watch the rocket launches in the beginning and the end of this episode. By the end, I've actually implemented Ferrum into my game now, and it is pretty different launch process. I like it a lot. It's a lot more intuitive and realistic, if you ask me. Also, recording quality has gone up. I have stopped going from half-size recordings to full-size for this game because there's a lot of small text and other little details that are much better seen on full size. But anyways, here we are just getting into a 89,000. I think I go 89 by 93 or something. Some little just simple parking orbit for this Moho probe. And I actually have to thrust a little bit to be able to move that because I didn't put any control on there. But here we go, and now we're, whoa, what the heck? Now we're going to reveal, whoa. Now we're going to reveal our probe fairing detachment. Plenty of solar panels. Alright, come on, Ryan. Get in there. Okay, so yeah, this is our probe. We got 2 goo canisters, 2 materials bays. So I figured out one of my mods actually integrated tweak scale in with it. I did not install tweak scale, but it was part of one of my mods. I'm not sure which one. I'm trying to figure that out, but I have no complaints. Tweak scale is amazing. I'm not going to be using it in any OP fashion and get like these super rockets just from tweak scale. Like, I'm not going to be tweaking any command pods or science bays or anything like that, but materials bay, I feel like a smaller science experiment is a feasible option within the game. So, getting up into this orbit, the reason why, if you look up in the top right, I have a contract for the LVN, and our altitude has to be 89,000 to 93,000. So I'm trying to adjust my orbit back into that window so I can test this engine and get a little bit more science. Looks like we need about a 19.4 meter per second burn, and there we go. So we should be cruising up to that altitude, and then we will come around and adjust one more time to get into the perfect altitude for this. I like the look of this probe too. It's got a ton of delta V. Now, one disclaimer, I have never gone interplanetary in this game, so hopefully it'll work out. I've been reading a lot and listening to a lot of stuff. There goes my test right there, by the way. Get that contract complete. Perfect. Alright. But I've never gone interplanetary. I've been practicing and looking up a lot of information about it, and hopefully everything will be just fine. So there we are, running a quick experiment and extending those bad boys. We actually have 4 more panels that I forgot to action group. Yeah. So back in the tracking center, I was peeping in and I noticed that we have an asteroid in collision course for, forget how close it was, but it was pretty dang close. So we're gonna do some contract testing. See, we've already completed one right there. Now we gotta test the LV-45 rocket. Now, like I said, I completed a ton of contracts, and I'm just including a few here, right here, just to show generally what I was doing and how I was doing them. Now this next test is a recreation of an actual NASA test. I tried to make it as close as possible in Kerbal fashion. Obviously there are no balloons in Kerbal, which kind of sucks, but I tried to make the LDSD, the low density supersonic decelerator. I think I did an okay job of making what it looks like. This was actually a lot of work to get this working because it just plain wouldn't go fast enough. This is before I had Ferrum. Obviously Ferrum would have made it worse, but getting this thing to go to, I think it was about, you had to get it between 400 and 500, it might have been 500 and 700 meters per second. Yeah, 500 and 700 meters per second, which was very tough to do. I don't know why I had so much trouble doing this, but I finally got it above 500, and I tested the parachute. Perfect. The thing didn't explode, and it actually does kind of look like the LDSD, which I think is pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of this, to be honest, even though it's just some stupid little test vehicle. But yeah, here we are just testing this parachute. We're gonna accelerate down and warp down onto the ground. I really should have edited this part out, but that's fine. We'll watch it cruise down with the beautiful clouds in the background. It's worth noting that these little islands right here always remind me of Hawaii, and this test was actually done over Hawaii, which is pretty funny. It was on the Air Force Range. I don't remember which island that's on, but Air Force Range in the Hawaiian Islands. There we go. We're just gonna warp on into our next mission. Contract complete. Perfect. Alright, touchdown. Everything's good. Got some decent science from that. Alright, and then here's our next mission. This is my first launch with Ferrum. Oh, there goes my phone. Yeah, it was my first launch with Ferrum. This is for my... what did I call this? I think I called this the HAOS 1, the High Altitude Observational Study or something. Something like that, yeah. High Altitude Observational Study, yes. This has a bunch of the ScanSat devices on it, and also some DM orbital science things. I recently added that mod. I had it on a previous save, and I really liked it. It's a pretty cool little addition to the game. Gives you some more science experiments, some easier ways to gain a little bit more science early on. It's got the magnetometer and a couple other things you'll see here in a second, but simple little rocket. That's what I love about Ferrum so far, is that the rockets are just super simple to go through, to be able to launch into the atmosphere, because nose cones and fairings, you can actually just use those and actually get some aerodynamics. So here is my HAOS 1 doing some scans. It's got a ton of stuff on it. I put a bunch of batteries and all these experiments. I want to make sure it could run all the time and still look pretty cool. I'm planning on adding remote tech here pretty soon, so I'm being a little bit cheaty here, I'm gonna be honest. But I'm trying to get as many satellites in the air as I can before I get remote tech, even though it's not a big deal if I have remote tech, getting them in orbit either way. But this is just making it that much easier for the time being. Here I am just activating all the experiments, double checking science in the low altitude. Get some for the magnetometer. Perfect. Now I'm just going to plan a burn to circularize. I always have so much trouble saying that word. I don't know why. Yeah, here we go. Gonna warp on up. I remember having a problem with the craft wobbling from the magnetometer being extended one time, but I don't know if that's still the case or not. And here we are nearing into nighttime actually. I just wanted to do a test burn, see if it was calibrating for the right engine, and it was. So here we go to circularize. Blah 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 blah. Alrighty. It's about as close as I'm gonna make it for now. And there we go. Checking out something weird in the corner. Gilly looked kind of strange for a second. Yeah, very, very awesome looking satellite. I like it. Here we are, just getting a little glamour shot. You know KSP is so pretty, you gotta get the glamour shots every now and then. Here we are getting some high altitude science. I think I was having a turn seeing which one was worth more at that point. I like my antennas extended at all times. I think they look a little bit cooler. But here's my ScanSat map. I actually forgot to put this in an inclined orbit, which is my bad, but it's no real big deal. I can always launch some more satellites. Just getting some basic scans for this mission. But here is Bill Kerman walking down the launch pad to unveil the newest ship in the Kerbal Space Fleet. Yes, let's see if you can guess what it is. We've got angled engines towards the center of mass, an external fuel tank. We've got wings and some solid rocket boosters, or some SRBs on the side. Can anybody guess what I have recreated here? Well, this is my version of the space shuttle, and it has gone through some rigorous testing, which I will not bore you with on video because it took forever and is still not quite done. But here we are going up the ladder. Going to be a little derpy right here. Bloop. There we go. We're going to climb in, and then next episode we will begin with the first launch of the shuttle capability, which is the grand unveiling right here. Anyways, as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.